Hey, as you know, I'm very passionate about making it easier to build and earn on the internet computer. And we started Code and State as a venture studio exactly for that purpose, to help incubate and accelerate projects in that space. But today I quickly want to introduce a project that has nothing to do with Code and State. Its founder is David Del Busco. He works at the foundation in his day job, and on the side he's built this amazing project called Juno. And I was so impressed by what I saw when I first saw the demo maybe a month or two ago, that now last week he published a public beta. I wanted you to have an insight as well. So it's quite a lengthy chat. We go into lots of details. There's a real demo where we deploy an application on mainnet through Juno, all within this 1 hour. So without further ado, have fun, stay curious, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, welcome, David. Where in the world are you right now?
I'm in Zurich. Hi, Cedric. Thanks
And
for having me.
of course, I'm excited to talk about Juno, but also I want to give everyone a bit of an introduction to who you are and what you do during your day job, because you work at the foundation and you probably work on the front end that most people have used in the IC ecosystem. You're probably one of the key developers behind one of the most popular apps, because you work on the SNS and the NNS app. Is that right? And maybe you can tell us a bit about like what your day job consists of.
So, yeah, well, I'm not sure I'm one of the key. I would say like everybody is the keys of everything. So I would not point it like way. But yeah, so I'm a contractor and I work with the foundation since a bit more than a year. And I've been active in the team that has rebuilt an NSD app when there was that transition from a framework to the new front end development. And yeah, I'm part of that team and mostly active in that field of front-end development.
And how did you first hear about the internet computer?
So I heard about it through a friend, and then I had like a side project which was called DeckDeckGo. That was like a presentation tool, and that was before I began to work for the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied for a grant to port the tools from a Firebase, like a traditional Web2 ecosystem, to the IC, and that's where it basically begins. Yeah.
And when you nowadays, to your friends, to your family, to someone else, when you explain them on what you work on, how do you explain the internet computer to them?
It's a good question. Like we like to joke that we just say that it's the future, and
That's a good answer, yeah.
uh,
You know,
yeah.
the reason why I ask is because I still struggle with this. Even though I've been part of this ecosystem for 7, 8 years now. And there's so many different versions that I've tried over time for different target groups, existing Web3 developers, Web2 developers, the general public. And I feel like I still haven't nailed it. And so that's why I'm always curious, like how someone else describes the internet computer, because I think collectively as a community, that's one of the big challenges we still have to solve, right? Like break it down into something that's so simple that someone can get it within a couple of minutes. Yeah, so you were just going to tell me, I think, what you usually say if it's not just the future.
Yeah, when I speak with colleagues that work in the computer field but not actively on the blockchain field, I try to explain a bit the advantages of the governance, like explaining that there is like that whole governance that can decide what's the future of a project, of an app, and that the governance has to decide when you roll out something new. And because I think that's something that can speak to any developers, because particularly those that like open source, like when you say there is a community behind it, and they generally like it. When I explained to my dad, it was a bit more tricky. I think like I tried to motivate it. Like I bought him like 5 ICP or whatever as a Christmas gift, and then I made him like an account or whatever, and then went through the process with it.
Yeah, kind of explain it by showing them what the app can do, or what the
Yeah.
internet computer can do. That's
But
also the approach that I've taken in the last pitch, is just to incorporate some live coding and show people how easy it is to deploy like a static website.
yeah,
Because I also feel like if I talk too much about the different features, then it's very easy for people to think, oh, that's great in theory, but like, oh, like no one believes that it's real. And so having this, let me just show you and demo this, I think is a key component to letting people understand what it can do and how this works,
yeah,
that it's
exactly.
real.
But yeah, to some extent, so for me as a developer, I see a lot of things I like as a developer, but I also like the idea that the outcome of the work should be transparent. And like at some points, you should just use the internet and it's the IC behind it and you don't know it, kind of. So it's also
And that's already,
difficult to explain something I want people to use seamlessly with like it's normal.
no, I understand. And I think it's a bit of a paradoxon, right? Because on one hand, I feel the internet computer is almost too hidden. Like, for example, when we use Discover, right? You don't need to log in order to browse the site. You don't need to own a wallet or have a token. You can just go there. And unless you see this little sticker somewhere that says running 100% on chain or on the internet computer, you don't really know that this is running off of a blockchain-based web server. And so I think long term, I fully aligned with you. Like, people also don't ask me like, oh, does this website run off of AWS or Google Cloud or somewhere else? They just know it works, and that's great. It's just sometimes I almost feel it's a bit too hidden. It's a bit too abstracted away for the general public to understand what the IC can do in this kind of midterm where we still have a bit of education to do and want to get more developers to come and build on the IC. But maybe that's a good keyword, because I know you this week you published a tweet and you said Juno is now live, and you put the public website up. And Juno is also something that's going to help others build on DIC. It's very aligned with my vision at Code and State to make it easier to build and earn. So what is Juno?
Yeah. So maybe a bit of background. So like I'm a traditional Web 2 front-end developer. And I've built mobile app, I've built website, I've built corporate website, I've built apps for a small foundation, whatever. And I often do things in with the how you say that, like with ease, like just calling some easy API, not having to write backend code and so on and so on. And there is that notion of cloudless or backend as a service in Web 2, in the Web 2 world. Commonly, like services like Google Firebase, where as a developer, you can just register and then everything works and you just use a framework and it works.
And for those that don't know Firebase, right, you would then have access to things like authentication or a database or data storage, kind of like the most often used components or resources that are very frequently used across web applications. They kind of package those as very simple APIs.
Generally, you have depends what you do, but generally you have to write different layers in an application, and you have to write the layers to persist the data, regardless if it's a database or a blockchain. And you have a presentation layers, like making the buttons and connecting the buttons with the function that has been built. And this type of services makes that a bit easier because they abstract the layers so that it's easier you have less work to do. Let's say like that. So yeah, long story short, I like this kind of services. And on the IC, I've built a few services already, like I built cycle.watch to observe the cycles, or I built, I don't know, Papyrus, which is a blogging platform. And I always had I begin with motor code, and I transition it to Rust. But I'm a front-end developer. I like to make colors. I like to see what I do. And someday I just woke up and I thought that there is maybe a way to make that as easy as all these Web2 service does. And yeah, so that's what Juno does. It's basically, it abstracts all the complexity. And if you are a front-end developer or web developer that just want to build something with ease, you can use the platform, and it will help you to ship fast and be able to focus on the product, basically.
That sounds super exciting, because we had a week-long Motoko bootcamp not too long ago. I think it's been a month ago, in Portugal, and people basically come there for a full week course. And when I say full week, it really is a full week, 7 days of 10 plus hours a day, where they learn Motoko for how to build the backend. And while I think that's always going to be a helpful skill, I think if we could do away with that and just get started building, and as you say, like build stuff that can immediately be seen, and there's this like immediate success factor where I feel, wow, this is cool. I have something live that runs off of the blockchain. I think something like that would be super, great for a lot of developers. So maybe we can jump into a demo, because you said it's live now, and maybe it almost sounds too good to be true for some people listening here. So it'd be cool to see a bit of a demo.
Yeah, and I'm probably better with code as explaining. So
okay.
Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Maybe? Juno as a console. I just gonna go to the light screen because I think the design is a bit better for my taste. Through that console, you can administrate your world, basically. So I'm gonna sign in. It's with II, right? And here you should think that it's not like for the user. The console is used by a developer. So basically, that's something important to know.
And the user would never know that something runs off of Juno, I guess, down the road, like similar to Firebase.
Yeah, exactly. Except they're not gonna know. So one thing important is, for me at least, is that at that point, Juno already hands over all the controls to the developer. So that means that everything the developer gonna build is owned by the developer.
It's all attached to that internet identity anchor.
Yeah, exactly. If technically we want to have a look, it's like Juno is a Canister smart contract, and each time a developer makes an account, a Canister smart contract per developer is created.
Okay.
So, and for me, it's really important that Juno has no controls on ADI data or whatsoever.
Does that also mean that you couldn't turn applications off? If, like, let's say I go and I build something with Juno that maybe you don't like, do you have any control over whether that stays online or not?
No.
Okay.
I'm really like, I control, there is that notion of controller, and Juno is a controller of nothing, except Juno itself, of course. But so, yeah. And then we have that notion of satellites. A satellite is basically a project, let's say like that, and the project is already packed with features. So when you want to start a new project, you start a satellite. And there is a small wizard, so you give a name, this kind of things, and you start it. So basically, when you do that, technically, it also gonna create a new Canister smart contract, which is your project, and this gonna comes with a set of features. So here we go. Well, maybe I should say, worth to note that we are doing the demo on mainnet, so it's not like I faked anything, or like it's real things here happening. So
anyway, I saw that there's like an invite code that's needed to get started, but so you're still somewhat controlling how many users can use this, but you're saying it's basically ready, and as long as people get an invite code from you, they can do this after they watch this video.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, if you're there is the internet computer dashboard. If you search that number in the dashboard, you're gonna find it. Or we are really on. So yeah, so as a user, I've created my as a developer, I've created the satellites, and here we can see for example, in the controller. So That's my demo principal, the one I'm logged in, and that's my mission control, which I'll call like my small bubble. But we see that Juno is not here, right?
Yeah.
So now that I have my satellites, I need to connect my application, the one I'm developing, with that, right? So I've prepared a small demo, but I've prepared it like 1 hour ago. So let's see if it works. Huh?
Okay.
So look, and yeah, because I knew that we had the chat, I prepared a small demo. So here I'm working locally, right? And let's say I'm Coden State and I want to make a bootcamp registration form. I thought that was like a good example, isn't it? So now that I have that application, I need to connect it with my satellite, all right? So what I do is, that's gonna be my ID. So what I do is in my application, yeah, I've set myself some reminders because it's a live demo. Yeah. So in your JavaScript application, in that case, I use Svelte, but it doesn't matter. It's like whatever JavaScript. You just say initialize Juno, you give, which is the satellite to connect to, and it's already it.
And when you say JavaScript and you use Svelte, people could also use React or Angular or whatever the flavor of the day is.
Yeah. And one of the attendee to the beta has already linked it with Angular, so I know it works. And yeah.
Okay.
Anything. And so at that point, this formula is already connected with our satellites. So now, because we have a formula, we want people to be able to sign in. Okay, because you can save data publicly, or you can save data per users, but we want users to save their work. So what you can do to connect a user, it's a bit the same. You basically just say sign in. That's the action. And that's already it.
So basically, behind this little command sign in, you've abstracted away the integration with Internet Identity, where everything on the satellites and is prepared as a backend, the backend part of the sign in instruction, and the front end part is abstracted away behind this sign in function here.
Exactly. So here, I'm gonna do that a couple of times. So here, if I go there, I'm gonna sign in, right? That's a good point. So let me, because I've created a new anchor, so which just for demo purpose. So I just have to find my anchor since I'm in 21.53.616. 21.53.616.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that anchor like 15 minutes ago. That's why I don't know the number and I don't want to open my password manager since I just have one screen. So
now you're still running the application, the front end locally, but it's now connecting with the mainnet in the background for the login. You just logged in with that anchor that you also use to log into Juno with.
Exactly, but that can be any anchor. It's just like because I just want to one time. And if I go back to my satellites, you see here I've got authentication, and now here I'm gonna find the user that has logged in my app. So every time a user signs in that application, here in my console, in my administration board, I'm gonna find these users.
Great.
And for the first run, currently, it only support II, but in the future, I think I will, or for sure, I will offer the possibility to the developers to plug more option.
Identification methods. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so enabling internet identity is as easy as checking this checkbox where it says enabled, where status is enabled, right?
Yeah, it's enabled per default, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, you have nothing to do. And like you said before, there is that notion that when you sign in, it does a bit more than the signing. It also creates that entity for the user in your satellites. And thanks to that, we can the satellites can identify the user anonymously to give the user the rights to, for example, create data or upload image and this kind of things. So now that we have the form, the first thing we want to do is to load the data to see if the user has already submitted the form, because the user just signing in.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, we're gonna go to the next step, and that's also a simple piece of code. Let's call it like that. But before doing that, let's have a look. No, let's do it directly. So if I integrate now, well, I want in sign up, which sounds wrong here. All right. So here I read a document. Mm-hmm. I just want to show that it's gonna crash.
Okay.
So that's expected. So if now you see here it says that doesn't work because we try to query something that does not exist yet.
Yep. What is a document in this case? What is the document object?
So there is like a notion of data store, I call it, which is like a simple database, which contains a list of collections, and each collection has multiple documents.
Okay.
So for example, in that case, in the form, we can have a collections that is the sign up, where the user put the data for his or her sign up. But maybe there are some other data that are less related, and then we can create another collection. It's a bit, there's not really a restriction. So you can create as many collections you want, and you can have as many documents you want within a collection. Then it's the developer who works to architecture his app.
Okay.
But in that case, because we don't have yet defined that collection, we have the error message. So what we have to do is to create that collection. I can use whatever name, but I'm gonna use sign up because it's already there. And
just to be clear, the sign up here, now we don't talk about signing up with the Internet Computer or Juno, but we talk about sign up to Motoko Bootcamp, the application form that we're building here.
Yep. Let's call it demo. That's gonna be more clear. So that's gonna be, it's really like it's a generic name. Okay. Hoopla. So here, now I create a collection which is called demo. So that collection demo will contain all the registration of every user. And then there is that notion of permission. So me as a developer can decide if I want that collection to be accessible only by my users, if I want them to be accessible only by me, if I want them to be accessible by everyone, or if I want them to be accessible by the user and by me. And when I do that, it's handy because, I don't know, maybe I want to do some administration, or maybe I want the user to have the full privileges, so I only give them. So it's a bit what you want to do.
So just to maybe translate this into a few examples, if only the user is able to edit it, then or access it, then only the user will be able to see the data, and only the user will be able to update their application to the bootcamp.
Yeah, exactly.
So in this case, what is it that you're choosing? For if this was the Motoko sign up form, we probably want to see it as code and state, right? So we can vet candidates and we can get an idea of who's there. Is that the managed option that you selected here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So manage is like the Web 2 standard. basically. It's like
Okay.
the user. It's like the user has private data, but the administrator of the application can see the data, basically.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what would be a use case for public?
Maybe like before you said Discover, you can go on Discover and you don't have to sign in to see the post.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a public. So in that case,
Okay.
you would have like a read permission that is public, but you have the write permission that is managed or private.
Okay.
And controllers is like data that are just for the developers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so demo. And everything goes fine. At least we should not have the error message anymore. Yeah, right. Okay.
Because
so now
now,
we have
because now your front end actually speaks to a data collection that now exists, the demo one, and that's why that error message went away.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for a bit explaining sometimes. So like it's yeah. When you build something,
just for me, I'm seeing this for the first time, right? So that's why I just like to paraphrase to make sure I follow along and I understand what we're going through.
Yeah, really appreciated. So no, we read, but it would be nice to write, no? So let's follow the same scheme. So if I go in my playbook, I'm gonna take the next one. It's more line, but it's not really more complicated. So
because most of the lines here actually come from the different the fields that you're sending, right?
Yeah,
if I
exactly.
correctly.
So yeah, so that's our collection we just created.
Mm-hmm.
That's to say, okay, if we have read a doc successfully, we're gonna use that doc as a base data. And that's important because Juno is already built to handle the fact that the user may use the same platform on multiple devices, and to avoid that the user change something on his or her phone and then do the same thing on the laptop, and then the laptop overwrite the data that have been made on the phone, so that there is like to be sure that everything works seamlessly. Mm-hmm. And here that's just that's the data we want to persist, the email and so on, the image.
This is the different fields that you have in the form that the user will fill out. Yeah.
So if we go to the demo, I guess it should be live, but just to be sure, I'm gonna refresh. So here I'm gonna say, all right, I'm David. That's my email address. We're gonna check the email afterwards. We can add a Twitter handle. Right? Mm-hmm. And everything goes according plan. If I submit, at least I hope so. All right, so beautiful. It worked out, and that's some cosmetic things. But if we go back to our console, because we have set that rules that say that it's managed, it means that we as a developer can read the data that have been persisted. So if I go back to the data, here I find my collection, and here I find the document that we just created. And here you see I have David and the data.
Basically here I now see the different submissions that users send in.
Yeah.
And one thing that maybe is obvious to a lot of people that use Firebase, but for me is also pretty cool. Like we didn't have to define the fields, right? We didn't have to say this expects a Twitter handle and the name and an email. But it's just a JavaScript object that now can be pushed into this collection.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna be, to be honest, I think that's gonna be like there are people who really like to have art typing till the backend. Mm-hmm. You can mitigate that in a front-end app because with some library it's possible to proof check the types at runtime, but that's not common. So I guess it's gonna be like depends of the people, but
Okay.
yeah. That says, I also here I use a library I've built. So maybe in the future I can also provide some type checking within the library.
Okay.
That would be an option too. So just wanted to show you that here, if I change it to private, if everything goes according plan, remember it's still in beta. If I go now to my data, you see my collection is empty because I changed it. So I can change it on the fly.
I see. But the user would now still be able to retrieve this specific user that sent in the that submitted the data. They can still see it.
So here, if we go back, I do a reload. You see my data.
Now I see it filled in with my previous values, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's go back and let's put it back because we are building a form, so we want to have the information, right? Okay. And the next thing is, to me, like I spend quite some time on the forum and on Discord, like since 2 years since I begin on the IC, I go every day on the forum, at least a couple of times. So yeah, don't judge me. And one thing that I noticed that people struggle was using AI, but now that has been really documented lots of time, and there is like also a new documentation that has been published last week or something. So
okay,
I guess that's gonna be fine. But the other things people struggle is uploading assets like images or videos, because there are some limitation and you have to learn about this, and then you have to find a way to implement that. For example, you cannot, I think, upload something more than 2 mega straight. Like if you want to upload 10 mega, you have to do it like in 2 mega after 2 mega, you know, this kind of things. And that doesn't work out of the box. There is some work to do. So yeah, of course, my goal was to make that more easy.
Right.
So let's say in our, where was I? In our form, we want the user to be able to upload like a small image, right? Okay. So to do that, I'm gonna, where I am, yeah. So I'm gonna go back to my playbook, and here in my sign up, in that step, so I got an input field and so on and so on. It's complaining because there are bugs in my editor, but whatever. Here, it's the same principle. I got a collection, and that's the image, that's the field that comes from the browser. That's the image.
Yeah.
So as for the database, data store, I go in my storage, I define rules, and here I call it images, I think. Same permission. The only thing which is different here is that it's more like a read permission when to want to list the assets, like give me all images that are present for that user. Because everything you upload them to be on the web, you know?
Yeah. So by design, they are exposed to the web if you know, for example, the file name. Yeah. But you can define whether or not publicly we can retrieve a list of everything that's available or not.
And I also, there is a built-in things that is done to make the file also kind of private on the web. So the developer can add an extra option here, which is called a token, and give like a super long random number. And then on the web, the image will only be provided if you give the image name and that super long token.
I see. Okay.
So it
this
becomes
is something that's built into the IC, or this is something that you built?
No, it's built in Juno.
Okay.
That's custom. So then you can kind of have that sense of private data anyway.
Yeah. You would store that key. You would store that key in one of the database and make that private so that it cannot be retrieved by anyone. And only the user would then be able to retrieve that key and use it together with the image identifier, and only then they would be able to load the actual image.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Basically. But of course, it's like it's on the web. So then if you share the image and the token publicly, then of course, then it's not private anymore. I mean, there is like a responsibility of the developer and the user, but you can manage to do something out of the box. Okay. And you can also provide like a maximal size for the images, because you probably don't want like, I don't know, like a robot that begins to upload giga in your
yeah, that was a maybe while it's updating, quick question. I saw that you have like 1 trillion cycles in this instance here.
Yeah.
The cycles currently come from you, I assume, or like like Juno has a bunch of cycles, and whenever it sets up a new instance, there's some cycles assigned to it, or
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So Juno has cycles, and when you create your account, your mission control gets did I click or did I not click? I'm not sure. It's just behind, just behind the image. The mission controls should have
Under
some
status.
ICP.
Yeah. It should have some ICP as well.
Oh okay. No, yeah. Here, status, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come to the ICP.
Okay.
So it starts with some cycles, and here, if I go back to my satellite, as you say, I have some cycle too. So I give you that, but afterwards, it's up to the developer to take care of the cycles. Right. So right now, I can do top up here, but it's the IC. You can top up you can top up any canister, so you don't have to be in Juno, but it's handy to do it in Juno.
Yeah. Okay.
And as I said, or as you saw, your mission control can hold ICP. And that's for 2 reasons. The first reason is when you do a top up, it's gonna use the ICP of your mission control, so that if you have a mission control and lots of satellites, you can use that mission controls to go and top up your satellites. And the second thing is that currently only the first satellite is for free. If I would create no second satellites, I mean, it's not the business model gonna be discussed, but I just don't want it to have everything for free, because the cycles come from my wallet.
Yeah, of course.
So when I create a new satellites right now, I put the price to half an ICP.
Okay.
And that would mean that I would have to transfer ICP to my mission control to start a new one. And it's also a way to support the project, because when you create a satellites and provide ICP, then this ICP goes to Juno, and so then Juno uses this ICP to create the satellites of the other developers. So, and the final things I have is also right now you have to top up manually, but since you have a mission control that holds all the satellites, we can imagine that in the future the mission control do that for you automatically.
Okay. Great.
That there is a timer, and that it checks that the cycles goes down and so on. And the cool thing is you are the controllers of everything. So you can trust that you can put your ICP there.
Yeah.
And I should also add that once again, I have no control on it. So when you upload ICP to your mission control, that's your ICP. Like I am totally outside of the equation. And so if we go back to our storage, we have created images, right? And like I told you, it's a bit complicated, and that's why I make it super simple. It's like upload file, image, the file that comes from the input of the browser, and that's it.
And so then in the background, if I have something that is bigger than 2 megabytes, this library takes care of like chopping it up into smaller pieces and then uploading those individual pieces.
You don't have to. I never tried to upload 5 gig. I'm gonna be honest, but technically speaking, there is no. It's all fine.
Okay.
So here, if we put that small image, and I submit again to update my my entry. Yeah, of course, I'm uploading an image, so it takes a bit more time, and we are good. So if I go back to the start, yeah, of course, there is like a demo issue, but you know.
Oh, we see that an image has been uploaded, or it's trying to retrieve the image. Yeah.
I got it. So I might have like a course issue of whatever, but the image is there.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly what I did. Yeah. Happens. Yeah. So
now if you go back to the satellite, we can also see that image has been uploaded to the images collection.
yeah, exactly. I think I cannot provide it because I work locally and the canister has there's course limitation. So I would have to set an header to allow my local host to see the image, basically. But here we see that there is the image, and that's also who has uploaded that, the type, and this kind of information. I still need to add a link to open the image, but yeah. And yeah, so we have implemented our form. It's nice, but as you say, we are working locally. So now we want to ship that on mainnet too.
Yes.
So let's do it, if you agree. So here I'm just gonna build my application so that it's ready to ship on mainnet. And now what we're gonna need the right to upload that app to the satellite. Because of course I don't want everybody to be able to do that. So to do this, I provide a CLI that you can install. Super simple. It's like a few commands. And I have to add that the website of Juno is basically a documentation. So you're really gonna find all the things, everything, all the code we have done together is documented with all the options, all the snippets. There are also some examples. And we are gonna use the CLI, and the CLI is also documented. So yeah. So I'm just gonna do a logout first to be sure that I have nothing. And
so as soon as you do Juno login, it opens the browser.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was quick, but it's because I use another browser. So here it opens Firefox because it's not my default browser, but we were doing the demo in Brave. That's why I copied the URL to Brave. At some points, I should have an option to select the browser. But here, yeah. So here I'm
means I don't need to do anything too complicated in the command line. There's no like token that I need to generate or whatever.
No.
I just do Juno login and it opens in my browser, and now I can, and then this comes up, and I'm back to like a user interface.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit quick. So exactly. So when you do that, it opens your browser, and then you can add some more controllers, because as far we have used the controllers, that is the one that we have used to sign in Juno in the console. So now you're gonna say, all right, I want to work on that computer, and you can give control, for example, to the satellites. Giving
I give control to all my satellites and mission control, or just to one specific satellite?
All your satellites would be listed, so you can select the one you want.
Yeah.
And if you create a new satellite, it's also not automatic. You have to log in, because there is that notion that you want explicitly to give the controls, And here you can give over the mission controllers. You only need it to upgrade it, because since the developer is fully in charge, the developer is also in charge of upgrading.
That was going to be one of my questions. Yeah, how you handle updates, but it's great that there's already a way for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it works that way. When you are in the console, on the overview, you got a big warning, yellow warning that says, hey, you are not up to date.
Okay.
And I still need to add a help button. And then when you have done that, in the CLI, there is like a command which is version or upgrade or whatever. And it just do the job.
Okay, great.
And,
And so what it would then do in the background, I assume, is it will pull from like the Juno repository somewhere with the newest version, to take that on your local computer where you now have one of the controllers for mission control and upload that to your canister.
Yeah.
And this way, you as a developer of Juno, you cannot upgrade people's application or stop it, but you can still supply people with a way to upgrade the application and keep it up to date, which I think that's great to see as well. I think that's probably something that a lot of people think about, like how to do that, and that seems like a very elegant way.
Yeah, and there is also like so it's published with a hash, and then when you're gonna upgrade, the command line gonna tell you, hey, that's the hash. Do you want to update it? So you can have like a double check that it's effectively what you want to upgrade and not some random code or whatever. And I'm also thinking, not for tomorrow, but for the future, it would be nice to have kind of like a way to allow the developer to back up before an upgrade.
For an upgrade, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe encoding the memory and then just downloading it as a zip, and then you do it, and then. But it's a bit tricky. It's a bigger process. Yeah. But as a user, I would feel confident if I could back up before doing an upgrade. So. Yeah. So here I'm gonna give over the permission, right? All right. Yeah, you see, like I really put a lot of effort on the design of that page, and and if I go now to my controllers, I should have 3 now, because there is the one I just added, and I can remove them, because there is also like on the IC there is a limitation of 10 controllers per canisters.
Okay. Yeah.
So. Right. So if I'm here, I've logged it. So since I have now, I can have like multiple satellites. So I should tell my machine that in that project, I want to use that particular satellite. So just have to make one time an initialization that will create the configuration file for you. So in that case, that's our satellites. There is no more satellites. And that's more technical, but it's basically where you have your JS file. Where is your app?
Okay.
And that's it. And if you say here, there is like a configuration file now for Juno. And you can also configure some more technical things like headers or ignore files and so on. There's quite a few options, but we're gonna skip that for the demo.
And if I saw correctly in the command line, it showed me the different satellites, right? You were able to select demo, press enter, and then also build was like preset. You can just click enter. So someone that doesn't have. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So now we are good to go, and we just deploy. So that takes a bit of time, of course. And
so this is now taking your packaged front-end app from your local machine, including those configuration files that were just created, and it's sending that to the front-end part of your canister.
No, that's the thing. There is no front-end part. There is just one canister.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, or more technically, he sent that to the storage in a technical collection you don't have access to.
Okay.
So when you had an image, it used the same technology as when you upload your app.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a bit of time because, of course, I had to use some fonts and some funny things, but and I also got some networks problems. So let's see if it goes through. assuming maybe not.
Maybe while this is running, I could already ask you like what, because I think this is great. I think this will make it so much easier for lots of people to build on the internet computer to get started. What is your vision for this? Because I know this is kind of your side project. As we mentioned at the beginning, you have a full-time job with the foundation. You are working on the SNS and NNS app. What is your vision for Juno?
Yeah, so my point is that there are millions of front-end developers in the world. And to some extension, I would love to imagine that I convert all these millions of front-end developers to the IC. And I think that having an option where they can use this kind of service where they don't even have to know what's Web3, excuse my French, is the right way to do. But I don't think I can do that to myself. It's not like something I'm gonna do just by coding on Saturday, it gonna work out. So right now we started the beta, and probably it's gonna depend what's the next move. Like if the community, if I see that there is like an interest by the community, a small community going on, if I find also some investors that are interested to make this become bigger. So yeah, that's a bit like there's steps you can imagine.
So maybe also if someone sees this video and is excited about this as much as you are, then maybe they can reach out and say, hey, David, I'd like to contribute. I'd like to talk about this. I have some ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I think like the demo god are not like with me today.
With us today.
Wow, that's good. So since beginning of the week, I have issue on my network, and I opened it like something on the forum, and I'm not the only one who have it. So I'm gonna have to dig down. But so it worked out. It just like there was some timeout somewhere.
Okay. But
you see all the files were
everything
uploaded.
has been nothing new ready to upload. Okay, so everything has been uploaded. It just didn't complete.
Yeah, like my network died at the end.
Okay.
So now there is that notion of hosting. So if I go there, when I create a satellite, I have the default URL that are used on the IC. So canister ID IC0.app. And if we go there, we're gonna find the formula we just created. So we can maybe have a look. Of course, now if I sign in, it's not gonna be the same identity because it's another domain, right? That's a bit the tricky part to explain. I hope that I make that kind of clear in the documentation. And here, if I go back, I should have two entries. The one we had locally, not the one I have.
From the local domain and now one from the public domain of the canister. Yeah,
exactly. And here, we don't put any, I want to try again that image. And let's do that, huh? And there is no reason why it would fail, I would say, because it's the exact same test as we do, but of course it fails, So, you know why it fails? That's expected. It's because I am uploading an image with the exact same name at the exact same place, and the images are also unique.
I see. Okay.
So let's do it like that, right?
So this is something that eventually could be handled by Juno as well, I guess, that whenever an image is uploaded, like it adds like a timestamp or something like that, so that we can upload the same file with the same name multiple times.
No. Maybe what we can do ultimately is like when you upload an image, you can give a name. So what I naively did in our implementation here is that I just said that's the did not provide. What I could have done here is say file name, and here I use let's say the user ID, / file name .png, and then it would have been fine, just like had a naive implementation.
Okay.
So if we go back here, no. You see?
Now it shows.
Yeah, it's because now we are on the right domain and there is not the limitation that I was working locally. But you can define either. So you can change your storage and say, I want everybody to have that. And if we go in the storage, now we should see 2 images.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go to the data store, no, that's the new one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty cool. And yeah, when you are at the end, I mean, it's nice to have this URL, but what you want is you want to use the blind entities. So, for example, I can imagine that you would like to have something like bootcamp.codenstate.com or whatever.
Yeah.
So to do that, the boundary node team has recently launched a new feature to easily create or set up custom domain.
Some domains, yeah.
And I volunteered to be the guinea pig, so that's why I tested a few things. And here, what you can do is basically you can like a bootcamp. It's called end state, doesn't matter.
Codentstate.com, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And when you go back, you continue. Sorry, then you have to make this entry in your DNS. It's where you buy your domain name.
Yes.
You have.
So I would go to, let's say, GoDaddy, Namecheap, or HostPoint in Switzerland, like wherever I registered my domain. Typically, I can then go and say custom DNS settings, and I would add these 3 records.
Yeah, exactly. So you put this record, and then I'm not gonna do it, but basically when you click ready, the Juno your satellite gonna mix the word so that your satellite is ready to handle that. And when it's done, the satellite's gonna call the boundary node to make the registration, and then the process is done.
And then would that mean whenever I change the domain, would that also mean users show up as like a new user, kind of the same as when you went from localhost to public domain?
No, same restriction. That doesn't change that. But what I mean is, like, for example, I tested that this morning. So here I've registered that domain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna do it again. So basically when you do that, it does all the configuration, it introduces what it needs to do in the satellites, then it calls the boundary node. I hope it's not gonna break anything. But at the end of the process, you say, oh, it's configured.
Right.
And then you're gonna have a status like, okay, checking, blah, 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 testing, and so on. And when it's ready, then you have your custom domain.
That's great.
So it's it really is, because even the work you would have to do to introduce a file in your canister and app, you don't have to do it. Like it's done by the hosting. So
very cool.
I don't know where we were.
When you browse it.
Yeah. So and of course there is delete and so on, but that's basically it. Yeah. But
very cool.
Not too bad.
Very impressive. I think this is totally in line with the vision of Code and State, where we're trying to make it so easy that people can get started within a weekend and deploy something. Maybe once, let's say there's hundreds and thousands of people that are going to register for the bootcamp eventually, like, are there any constraints, like anything that where this will eventually break, or does this scale with?
So the limitation is currently the limitation of in size. So it's like up to 32 giga.
32 gigabytes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the limit that one canister can handle currently.
Yeah, exactly. You can push it to 64 now, but I don't have tested and implemented that.
Okay.
But technically, I think the upper limit will be that. There is no mechanism yet that one satellite, when it gets full, create a new satellite automatically and so on and so on. But yeah, I like to think that in the vision, like we have satellites right now, and maybe someday we have like I don't know, like a space station, you know, so that. But I like when things are super simple and don't want to jump straight to like building a space station. And I mean, yeah, there is already enough with 32 gig. You can already do something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think this is perfect. Like there's lots of applications that people can and should build on this. What are other implementations, or like what are other abstractions that you're thinking about at the moment? If you had more time to work on Juno, like what would be the next thing that you would add?
So if I go there, I got a roadmap, so maybe we can have a look. So I would like to offer some easy things for the developer again, and right now, like having some analytics would be nice, I think. And also, lots of developers also, yeah, there are developers that do stuff like for fun on the weekend, but it's a job too, so you want to earn money. So I was thinking that having like a kind of paywall or payment option would be nice, because once again, your mission controls kind on the satellites, so maybe I can provide like an abstraction that make this kind of things easy. And I'm really looking forward to all these new standards like ECRC2 that will help making recurring payment possible. So yeah, I like that, and I like the idea, so I would like that too. And yeah, that would be also nice if someday you can even go a step further and you make SNS possible. You know, like maybe your developer account or your satellites, and making that as for the custom domain, like something where you have 2 clicks and it just works out of the box. I like that.
Amazing. Yeah.
For the future, like I told you, I like that idea of space stations and rocket and so on, and go bigger. But I can also think that maybe it can be something where developer can build their own templates, because at the end of the day, I can have standards for the API, standards for the library, and then developers can build stuff that are different or so on. So, and maybe it can be even like a small store of templates or whatever.
Yeah.
But not for tomorrow, but I like the idea. Let's say like that. In terms of infrastructure, there are a few things I would like having more authentication provider, like not that you can plug any other sign-in method as AI. That would be nice. We're speaking about the memory, so you see right there. Would be also nice, like in traditional Web 2 backend less function, you often have the ability to write function that runs in the backend, but you still use JavaScript. It's a bit more like it's like when a user sign in, you want that something automatically starts. And that's something gonna come. I still have I got a friend who helped me with the brainstorming. We still have a way to find a way to make that, let's say, made for front-end developers, you know?
Okay.
So the goal is not that someone comes and write Rust or Motoko. The goal is that you write like your JavaScript.
Lambdas, maybe like serverless
yeah, exactly,
or something like that. Yeah.
But still with API and things super simple. It's not
okay.
Right now, that's more technical, but right now I use queries. code to make things fast. And in the future, I can imagine that I can use certificate calls to make everything certificate, even the queries, you know. And the cool things about that is that I can implement that without even the developers to know, because I implemented, the developer gonna upgrade the satellites, upgrade the library, and then the developer gonna have it for free, if I can say. And yeah, the other thing is a bit more technical. And for the future, also right now we have developed against mainnet, right?
Yeah.
That would be nice to be able to develop also locally, so that you don't use cycles when you develop. There, it's also a bit a brainstorming of how we want to provide that, because I'm not sure that I don't want user to have the hustle to learn how to deploy things locally. And so the worst case scenario is just having like one command, like Juno start local or whatever that does everything. But there are maybe some ideas that it can be a bit cooler, let's say like that. So yeah, there are some brainstorming going on, but maybe that will be a different approach, I would say.
Okay, very exciting to hear. I mean, I find this incredibly exciting what you've built, and want to thank you in the name of the community. I think this is going to make the life of so many developers much easier. If someone wants to give this a try, how do they get an invite code so they can use the beta of Juno.build?
So people can reach me out on Twitter, and if you go to the doc, there is also a link to a similar form as the one we have built, but for Juno.
Okay.
And they can also
request an invite code there.
Yeah, but I mean, like on Twitter or even on the forum or on Discord, like anyway, just send me a mail and I'm gonna send you back an
Just
invitation.
find David, let him know you want to start building on Juno, and you'll sort him out with an access code.
Basically it works. It's like no complexity.
Well, David, we'll let you get back to building. Thanks so much. This has been very insightful. I can't wait to see where else you're going to take Juno and what kind of space stations you're going to build. I'll definitely follow your journey. Thanks so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.